Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Sargon of Akkad. Sargon, also known as Sargon the Great, was the first ruler of the Akkadian Empire, known for his conquest of the Sumerian city-states in the 24th and 23rd centuries BC. He is sometimes identified as the first person in recorded history to rule over an empire. His empire is thought to have included most of Mesopotamia. He is equally famous today as the father of the great poet-priestess Enheduanna, the first author known by name in history. The Akkadian Empire was the first political entity to make extensive and efficient use of bureaucracy and administration on a large scale and set the standard for future rulers and kingdoms. In his capacity as cupbearer, Sargon added the king's trust, but this was to put the test with a neighboring king, Lugal-Zaggisi. He embarked on a military campaign of conquest in the region. Ancient Mesopotamia was divided with many small city-states, all of whom fought one another over fertile territory and water. Lugal-Zaggisi of Umma marched his army through the region of Sumer and conquered the city-states one by one, uniting all of them under his authority. He would be the first Sumerian king to accomplish this to any great extent, and the last Sumerian king before the rise of Akkad. He seems to have earlier agreed to leave Kish alone, but after conquering Uruk, he decided to move on Kish. Bauer writes how Ur-Zababa, learning that the army of the conqueror was approaching his city, grew so frightened that he sprinkled his legs. He had grown suspicious of Sargon, and although there seems to be no evidence that the cupboard had given him cause, he decided to send him to Lugal-Zaggisi with an offer for peace. For whatever reason, Lugal-Zaggisi refused to comply and instead invited Sargon to join him. Together they marched on Kish and took the city easily. Ur-Zababa escaped and went into hiding. Sargon marched on Uruk and took it. Lugal-Zaggisi marched his army from Kish to meet Sargon in battle and was defeated. Sargon then put him to change, tied a rope around his neck, and took him to the city of Nippur, sacred to the god Enlil upon whom Lugal-Zaggisi had relied. When Sargon overthrew Lugal-Zaggisi and seized power, he gained an already united kingdom which he could use to advantage in military campaigns and to establish the first empire over all of Mesopotamia. He may have been helped in this by his own legend, which established his humble backgrounds. After conquering Sumer, he either built a new city or renovated an older one, Akkad on the banks of the Euphrates River. This was a complete break by precedent in that, previously, the king of an existing city conquered another for the glory of the home city and the resources which would now be available. Sargon, on the other hand, conquered for no city, only for himself, and once he had control of the area, then built his own city to enjoy the benefits of conquest. Not content with what he had accomplished thus far, he set out again on campaign. He may have also taken Cyprus and claims to have marched to the Mediterranean Sea and sent ships as far away as India for trade. He marched through Mesopotamia, conquering one city-state after another, and expand his empire as far as Lebanon and the Taurus Mountains of Turkey, and then went even further. He instituted military practices of combining different types of fighting forces in looser formations, which became standard down through the time of Alexander the Great. He swept across the land with his army until he had formed the first empire in the world. But forming an empire is one thing, but keeping it operating is another. Still in administration, Sargon proved himself as capable as he was in military conquest. In order to maintain his presence throughout the empire, Sargon strategically placed his best and most trusted men in positions of power in the various cities. Sargon also cleverly placed his daughter, Enheduanna, as high priestess of Inanna at Ur, and through her seems to have been able to manipulate religious, political, cultural affairs from afar. The Akkadian Empire created the first postal system, where clay tablets inscribed in cuneiform, Akkadian script, were wrapped in outer clay envelopes, marked with the name and address of the recipient and the seal of the sender. These letters could not be opened except by the person they were intended for, because there was no way to open the clay envelope save by breaking it. Sargon also standardized weights and measures for use in trade and daily commerce, initiated a system of taxation which was fair to all social classes, and engaged in numerous building projects, such as the restoration of Babylon. He also created, trained, and equipped a full-time army, where, as an inscription reads, 5,400 soldiers ate bread daily with the king. Even with these improvements to the lives of the citizens of Mesopotamia, the people still rebelled against Akkadian rule. As the centuries passed, however, whatever difficulties they had with Sargon's rule were forgotten, and all that was remembered were his heroic feats and the golden age of the Akkadians. That's all I have to say for today's video. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.